like to call this meeting of the Carson City Historic Resources Commission for Wednesday, March 6, 2024 to order. Brianna, can you call the roll, please?
Chairperson Drews,
Here.
Vice Chair Schmitter,
Here.
Commissioner Block,
Here.
Commissioner Darney, Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Spiolda, Commissioner Wright. A quorum is present.
Thank you. Next item is 3, public comment. The public is invited to address the commission to comment on or discuss any matter that is relevant to the Historic Resources Commission.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioners. Denny French, Carson City, Nevada. I'm here specifically for AHRC -2023, etc. The main thing is that I wanted to hear more about the First Presbyterian Church and some of its lineage, and you all seem a wealth of knowledge on that. So I look forward to that, and then I'll be able to do my own studies further on. But the sign intrigued me. I'm a little concerned about its size, but it certainly sounds like it's set to have considerations for the neighborhood's architecture and such, and to stay with it. So I'm for it. From what I can see, any of y'all come up with something that has me change my mind, I'll tell you about it. Thank you.
Excuse me. I can't even remember what year it was. We did an historic structures report for both the Presbyterian Church and the Lutheran Church. And I believe Community Development should have a copy of that report. It gives the full background.
Well, thank
on
you.
the church. And if they can't find it, I've got a copy. I can get it to
Thank
Hope
you.
or Heather, and we can make it available to you.
Because it's suggesting it basically the First Presbyterian here, so thank you.
And Mike, it was the Episcopal Church.
That's right, the Episcopal. Yeah, the two big ones left on the, yeah. Is there any other public comment? Hearing none, we'll move for item 4, possible action, approval of minutes from January 3rd, 2024. The commissioners had a chance to look at those. So I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the the minutes from January 3rd meeting as written by staff.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 5, meeting items. 5A, HRC-2023-0218 for possible action, discussion and possible action regarding a proposed new landscape wall with an enclosed bulletin board on property zoned residential office, RO, located at 115 North Division Street, assessor's parcel number APN 003-214-07. Heather.
Thank you. Heather Ferris. For the record, the property is located at the northwest corner of North Nevada Street and West Messer Street. The property is improved with a church that was originally constructed between 1862 and 1864. The church is a 2-story brick structure that combines elements from Gothic Revival and Classical Revival, and additions were made to the building in the 1960s and mid-2000s. The applicant is seeking approval to construct a new landscape wall with an enclosed bulletin board. The bulletin board will be your typical manual bulletin board where messages are changed by hand. The board will also be lit with an LED strip light that's adjustable, and the existing bulletin board, which is on West Messer, would be demolished. And this is kind of the Google Street View of the property and the general location of where the the new sign would be located. New signs within the historic district must comply with the requirements of 18.06135 of the municipal code and Division 5.23 of the development standards, as well as the Secretary of Interior standards. Staff finds that the wall and bulletin board are consistent with the development standards and municipal code. Additionally, it is consistent with the Secretary of Interior standards in that the sign will not compromise the historic features of the site, and if removed in the future, the site would be unimpaired. Darren Berger is here representing the project, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Heather. Darren, do you want to add anything or answer any questions?
For the record, Darren Berger, architect. I guess the only thing I would add is that from an architectural standpoint, I was trying to marry up this structure with the covered walkway structure that we did a few years back. And so it's, the thought was that if that walkway had a little baby, that's its baby. So the materials, the details tie in with that. And then just scaled back the high-techness of the message board, and I hope we've hit our mark.
Any commission member questions or comments?
Darren, on your drawing where it shows the setback, is the wall going towards the Nevada Street side? Is that going to make it to the sidewalk?
I'm sorry,
So the sign's going to go perpendicular between Musser and Nevada Street? And where it shows coming up to the red line right there, the edge of the 3-foot wall where the signboard is on
yes,
the Nevada Street side?
yes.
Is that red line where the sidewalk is?
No, that's,
How far back is that from the sidewalk?
oh man, it's been a while since I've looked, it's 15 to 20 feet back there. It's quite a ways.
From
That's-
the edge of the sidewalk?
Oh, from the edge of the sidewalk, it's 10 feet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Could we go back to the picture of the photo of the site?
So our sign is close to where the left, on that upper photo, it's on the, about the left edge of where that dirt meets the grass. And at about a little bit closer in than the sign that they currently have. And I think the criteria that we set that sign was our property line on the east side. And then there's a 45-degree line that we need to cut at that intersection for visibility. Although that giant transformer doesn't meet that criteria, but
Yeah, I was gonna say.
we're not the power company. We would love to. Yeah, you can't touch those things. Those are sacred. We can't even, I'm surprised we can't even talk about that. We would love to have it go away, but it's not
Yeah.
going anywhere.
Are there other questions, comments?
I got just a clarification. So the only electrical really is the backlighting? I mean, these things are self-lit?
Yeah,
The
there's a,
sign, the rectangles only?
yeah, it's internalized in the frame. You don't even see the light source, but you will see
Right.
light. It's those LEDs are so tiny anymore, they
Yeah.
just tuck them up inside the frame. You'll never even see
I'm
it.
glad you clarified that box, because I was gonna tell you your architecture's starting to look like a transformer.
Yeah, yeah.
Any other questions? Darren, this is, can you approximate how many feet north it is from the old church itself? You know, we're way on the other corner,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Gosh, it's at least 3 car lengths, if not 4, so. anywhere
That's
about 80
the opposite corner of the church,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it doesn't,
Yeah,
yeah, it's not close to it at all.
okay.
The intent is for it to be more in tune with our walkway that you can
Mhm.
see in the background in that picture. There used to be a big old pine tree in this picture that blew down a few years ago.
Yeah, it had Christmas lights on it every year.
Yeah, no more of that.
Any other questions or comments?
No, I think I appreciate you trying to find a light source that will work for your sign that isn't obtrusive for the neighbors and works for the historic district. So.
Yeah, I think we're on point with it.
Just so the commission knows, this came to me as an administrative approval, and I was just a little bit leery about interior lighting and doing something without all of you weighing in. So that's why we're here tonight, and thank you, Darren,
You bet. Thank you. Appreciate it.
for humoring me and letting us do this. Is there any public comment on this item?
I had a question for the gentleman. Is this the tree that went down?
That was it, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you. Thank you. Denny French, the tree really sort of helped to disguise that junction box. And now that it's exposed, there's no way that you can architect around that at all to minimize its imposing stand on the area. And as far as the present structure, that is a nice little structure. When was it put in as a question, and could it be sold as a piece of another area's structure? Historical, is it related in any way to the historical part of the church in time-wise? Is just a later addition? So it doesn't have the same historical value?
Well, I think what it was, the house that used to be, I'm sorry, Mike, jump in.
Because there
The
was.
house that used to be there, I think that got moved over to Plaza or Fall Street over here about 1978. So that little signboard or something would have been after that.
Okay, but it wasn't connected with that at all, so it can't move with the house that did. It was, okay, so thank you, and this is why I hadn't noticed that other before, thank you.
Yeah, and in terms of screening or anything, if the church wants to put a tree or something up to soften things, we could talk about that. I don't think it's a big issue. Probably do that administratively anyway if it's just planting a tree. So. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. Go ahead, Don.
I move to approve HRC 2023-0218 based on the findings and conditions of approval outlined in the staff report, the Carson City Historic District guidelines, and consistent with Historic Resources Commission policies.
The motion, do I have a second? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thanks, Darren. Next item is 5B, HRC 2024-0055 for possible action, discussion, and possible action regarding nominations for the 2024 Carson City Historic Preservation Awards for outstanding achievements in historic preservation. Heather?
Thank you. As you know, the HRC and Board of Supervisors annually present the Historic Preservation Award to projects, persons, or organizations for outstanding achievement in historic preservation. The agenda item is an opportunity for the HRC members to select a recipient for the 2024 award. We did advertise to the public that they could potentially nominate. We did not receive any nominations. So it's back to the HRC.
Commission members, I think last year we had a couple suggestions. We gave it to, I think last year we talked about the Wrinkle Mansion as well, with all the work that they've done on that. And we also lost Stan Jones this year. Maybe we can do just something to honor Stan and a building. question, member?
Right now, well, I got a bench for Stan on Curry and King, and the Downtown Business Association contributed that as well. And then Ronnie has, from the Chamber of Commerce, has the 2024 Leadership Institute class proposing and raising money to use the old firemen's memorial that was in Mills Park across from the pavilion. Since they moved that memorial to Legislative Building, they're doing that memorial for Stan over there.
If I could, Chair, the only issue I see with RCI is that the work's not complete. I think typically the project would need to be complete by the end of the year.
Yeah, maybe the year after, at the rate they're going. Any other infill or restoration work that? Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, the wrinkle is they did an incredible job on that. And I think that, yeah, I think that's one that we could recognize. And I mean, I know Stan's getting a lot of memorials, but maybe a certificate or something just to give to Sue to show him or show her our appreciation for Stan's support over the years.
Is the purple avocado in the historic district? I know that's it's.
It might be
I'm not sure if it's.
just outside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just,
Yeah, because Capitol Jewelers got torn down because it wasn't in the district.
Yeah. Okay. So it's on the wrong side of the street. Okay.
it's on the wrong side of the tracks.
Yeah. Okay. But
I'll just remind the commission, my recollection is when Karen Aboud went off the commission, that year you acknowledged her for her support of historic preservation. So I think what you're talking about with Stan is consistent with what you did with Karen Aboud.
Yeah, it's just something to acknowledge his support, and I think that'd be great. We don't have to do a fancy plaque or anything for that. But any other suggestions?
Well, and I think Stan and himself, you know, in his age, he was a contributing element to the district. But he was on the Redevelopment Authority Citizens Committee. He was the chairman of the Veterans Memorial Cemetery out in Fernley for 12 or 15 years. Governor Bryan, the day he retired in 1988, made him a brigadier general. He was involved in everything in Carson, and if someone went to him and said, hey, I have a problem in the historic district, or I have a problem here, or whatever, he'd look into it because he just knew everybody, and he would be great. And, you know, maybe not a plaque, but, you know, a certificate, I think that would be very worthy of doing that.
Okay, can we have, do we need a motion on this, or can we just go ahead and, let's go ahead, I'll entertain a motion. Oh, is there any public comment?
You know, I'm not really into self-loathing, but there's a couple properties I've noticed. One's on Spear Street and one's on Curry Street, but that's just me.
I'll entertain a motion.
So we just have the one, or we have Wrinkle Mansion too? Okay.
Let's do Wrinkle
Okay.
and Stan, I guess.
Did, it's Sarah Martin. Had the Press Foundation gotten a Historic Preservation Award for that building when they got the Thunder Realms grant back in 2000, when they did the fence and they did all that stuff? Because what Sarah did was a lot of paint and, you know, trying to turn it into an inn, you know, and so mostly, you know, she got it in really good shape, you know, and obviously did put a lot of money into it. And there's, I think, 6 different paint colors on there, but I didn't know if we gave one to the Press Foundation before.
I don't remember if we did, Jen.
Do we have records we could look at, the past nominations?
Yeah, I mean, there's records, I don't know, you think it was 2000, Jed?
It was 2000 when they completed.
I don't believe we did be
In the last 24 years.
if we
it's
did, it was sometime between,
2000 and
my
2005.
recollection would be between 1989 and 2000. I don't believe we ever did. And, I mean, it's a new owner and she has done a lot of work to it, so I think we're not duplicating any effort by recognizing it again. Okay, Lou?
So I move to nominate the Wrinkle Mansion and the new owner, Sarah Martin, and Stan Jones for recognition of the Historic Preservation Award in celebration of Historic Preservation and Archaeological Awareness Month.
Motion, do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item is HRC-2024-0056. For possible action, discussion and possible action regarding the 2024 Historic Resources Annual Scavenger Hunt. Heather?
Thanks again, Heather Ferris. So in 2023, we had our 14th year for the scavenger hunt. So this item is before you to determine if the commission wants to continue to organize the event, and if so, we'll need volunteers as we typically do.
The supervisors love it. Every time we do our annual report, it's kind of the highlight. And I think the mayor, we need to get with her because I think when we talked to her last, she said she had some ideas for it. So we might come up with our own and then reach out to the mayor and see how it meshes with her ideas. So I'll open it for discussion. Board?
Heather, did you get any numbers? I think we were talking about that last time. I know
Yeah,
it's
if I
hard.
remember right, so I did put numbers in the final report that went forward to the board, and I think it was 22 participants that submitted. But I'm sure just based on, what we hear, that a lot more people participate and don't necessarily submit for, the prize at the end.
How many locations do we usually have? About 25?
Usually about 20.
Because maybe a thought is they came out with the Christmas ornaments in 2002, and there was in 2002, so there's been 21 years of the Christmas ornament. If we could tie it together, maybe finding architectural elements from a Christmas ornament and making it wear. Just a thought, because Lori's big on the ornaments as well, and I think she's picked the last 3 or 4.
It could be a real challenge to identify architectural elements on those ornaments.
And I think part of it, though, is just getting people out there to look around. And I know a lot of people don't turn their stuff in because they can't find stuff, but just getting them out to look around and appreciate the district, I think that's where the really cool thing is.
Yeah, and that's what I've noticed over the years too. You see an awful lot of people walking around with the forms in their hands, and it's families and groups of people, so it is pretty interactive and well worth our while. Any ideas for themes? Oh, well, I guess the first question is, do we want to do it again? And if we do,
I think we should do it again. I think it's a great thing. And if 22 people actually turn in, it can't be fewer than 50 that started it. And that's plenty.
yeah, it's like the Nevada Day Treasure Hunt. I always read the questions.
Well,
Don't participate.
and I'd lose out on a lot of phone calls of people trying to ask me to help them cheat, and I won't do it, so.
Yeah, I don't mind putting together the form if I have help with the details and things like that. But Instead of the actual theme this time, I was thinking maybe we should go back to the, just looking for elements, architectural elements on buildings. And I was thinking maybe we could have a list of the elements, so they also had to match the elements with the photo. So that then they would learn the terms, rather than just looking at, finding the actual feature on the building. They would know what the term was, like coining and, spindle spool work and things like that, rather than. So we'd have another little.
Actually, yeah, I think that's a great idea.
So
And
for
down-
each-
and down
for-
that line, I was actually thinking about brickwork. A lot of brick in this town,
Yeah.
and the details of brick, and little details of how it changes direction or how it changes stacking or
Mhm.
things like that. But we can incorporate, I don't know how many you're going to get. So you maybe have to incorporate things like coins on the corners or corbels or different things like that. I don't know if you want to do one thing, if there's enough, or we have to mix some.
We'll have to
So-
look.
So are you thinking, let's pick 20 buildings and have a list of architectural elements and let them check off lists, or check off the list to see which ones?
Well, it would just be the element that would be photographed. It wouldn't be the whole building. They'd
Oh,
still
okay,
have
so
to, they
we-
still have to find the element.
You want to go back to just
Yeah.
a coin and,
Yeah, they have to
the-
find it on the building, and then they have to match it with the description.
I think I get it.
Do we still have, do we have a current guidelines that has the drawings of the elements in it? I haven't seen one for a couple of decades.
It hasn't
but-
changed.
Hasn't
have-
changed. But I mean, that would be a good source to look for features
Yeah,
in our guidelines.
yeah, we have some features and things in here.
Yeah.
I don't think that
Maybe
they're,
like 5 of each or something.
yeah, I
know.
don't think they're identified particularly. I mean, they're
With a picture, okay,
Yeah,
but they're,
but
if they're
there's-
listed, that's a great source.
Yeah,
and then
there's
we
a
can find pictures.
definition for each one, so.
I would think
Yeah, we-
chimneys would be a cool one. I
Mhm.
don't know if we've done that
We did
before.
chimneys.
Did we do chimneys?
Yeah, we did.
That's funny.
Chimneys was really cool. But we could
Been a
go to
while.
McAllister and find illustrations of all those elements too, and just include that. We could include the sheet in the guidelines
Mhm.
and throw in McAllister's drawings just to show what they look like.
Well, they'll have the photos from the district.
Well, yeah, that's, in the guidelines, it's like where Ducerella is, it talks about a Sears Craftsman House and that stuff, and some of the stick stuff on my office, but you've got corbels and dentals and coins and finials and crustings, and
Mhm.
I don't know if there's any buildings that have a crusting on them anymore. Well, of course they do, the Wrinkle does. But you'd have enough there, and if you had 4 pictures of each one of those, you've got plenty.
Yeah.
And another idea, using the Christmas ornament thing, is maybe have a feature and take a picture of that building, but say, here's a hint, it was on the 2006 ornament, where they're actually having to go online and research or go through their stuff. I mean, there's gonna be people that are gonna pull out all their ornaments just to get the $50 gift card. But I think a lot of people, maybe a hint might help them. And I've got wheels, so I can go around and take pictures because the sidewalks suck, but the streets are pretty good. And I can help in that respect.
Yeah, we have,
Not last week.
Mr. Chair, if I can. When I give tours of the district, some of the aspects that I focus on, which is not the building, it's the grid street pattern, it's the sidewalk with the grassy strip with the deciduous trees and the curb. It's the pathway that goes from the sidewalk to the front door. And so I think it would be cool, in addition to the aspects of a building, to include those character-defining features of the district. So I'm just putting that out there because a lot of people overlook that, and that really is character-defining.
Excuse me.
Well, and there's even elements of city curbing still out there, the sandstone stuff, that's sticking out here and there. And then, if you can identify the oldest sidewalk in Carson on Nevada Street between Spear and Telegraph, the name's right in the sidewalk, right where the sidewalk curves, it's like 1912. Stuff like that, and with the way they did the trowel work that we lose every time they redo a sidewalk and things like that, and like the approaches, they had in Carson now, the house on Elizabeth Street, the guy was shoveling the sidewalk, but you see the sidewalk there now. I think there's could be a lot of those elements as well.
Yeah, it might be fun to look at elements of the district, or just call it elements of the historic district and go with a variety of.
Well, and even where the old sidewalks have that curve, and there's still grass in between that and the curb, where all that stuff is existing as well.
We in agreement on that? So the next question is, who's going to work on it? Jed kind of volunteered.
I want to be in charge.
You're very good at writing the introduction to what it is, so. Okay.
See how
So-
they all tie together.
We have lots of archived photos too, so we can, I can draw some of those.
photos too. If you're looking for something, I can look and see.
Yeah, and it's
Did-
kind of fun to walk around the neighborhood and take photos.
Oh, yeah.
What about- Did we do one that had walls like the Rhyolite stuff? Because you've got the entrances to Winter's Ranch. You've got the Wangamia House. There's some stuff down on Musser Street. There's a back wall behind Rosemary's house on Elizabeth Street. There's a lot of examples of that different colored stone and stuff like that. I just don't remember if we ever did that.
Yeah, I don't know that we have. One of the issues is there's not, I mean, the Winters property is outside of it's listed, I think, but it's outside of the district. Wanganema is the same way. And I mean, the nice thing about doing it in the district is we're not looking all over the city for it. We're
Well,
a little more
I'll see what I
focused.
can find in the district, but I don't think we're gonna find 20 of those examples anymore. That-
Okay, so Lou, are you gonna head it?
I can put together the draft and work with Michelle and Joan and Jed to get all the photos in the right place with the right addresses, which is always a struggle.
Okay. Can we get just a quick synopsis together to give to Heather so she could get it out to the appeal, and we can let people know what we're thinking and.
Yeah,
where
so
we're going?
I typically will do that a week or so in advance of releasing the scavenger hunt. So we do a press release at that point. Yeah,
Should have most of it together.
yeah. So if I can get everything by like mid-April, that gives us, a couple weeks to get everything pulled together.
I'll reach out to Lori and see what her thought, or tell her what we're thinking and see
Okay.
what her thoughts were.
Okay,
We'll try to integrate her stuff in too. I don't think we need a motion on this. I think we just need to move in that direction.
Yep.
Okay. Is that okay, Tom?
Yes, that's fine with me.
I thought so. Next item is 6, staff reports. Staff?
I don't really have anything to report out other than the next meeting is scheduled for May 1st, 2024.
Commission member reports or comments? Any future agenda items? Historic preservation grants. Do we want to, I think I talked to Hope about this. In 1998, I think, we did a historic preservation plan that really needs to be updated. We're doing the master plan now. When I talked to the master planning folks, I said it'd be really nice to have that as an appendix, or at least be able to append it to the master plan once it gets approved. I'm sure Shippo has talked to me about it a few years ago when Mike, or not Jim, was still there. So it's something we might look into. I think I think the board could make up for a lot of the staff match. I know you guys are busy. And I think we could put a lot of that on our backs to get that 50% match. So it's something to look at and probably something, do you know when we need to have grants in, Heather or Hope?
We can reach out to Rebecca. Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
let's,
no.
let's,
We
let's
can
see,
reach out
because
to
it's,
Rebecca and see what's going on there. I don't think SHPO's appointed anybody to be in charge of the CLGs. In the past they have, but then Kristen Brown got moved to the Comstock. And, yeah, so Rebecca's told us to direct questions to her. Your comment about grants also reminded me, Forum is in Palm Beach in July, I believe. And I'm looking at Michelle. Am I right? It is July. So,
Early April.
right. So when
August.
we talk to Rebecca, we'll also determine how that's being handled through SHPO, because I haven't heard anything about it.
I've looked a couple times online and they keep saying they're not dealing with funding travel right now for the forum. So,
So, okay, so we can definitely follow up with Rebecca and see if they've received the money from the Park Service and if they're going to be opening that for us. And we can get the dates to everybody and see who's interested in making the trip.
Heather, do you know which of us participated in the NAPC presentation that they did? I know you, yeah, the camp training. I was on it. You were on it, right?
the one just in January?
Yeah. Because what I'm
Yeah,
thinking
I
is
was on it.
SHPO likes to, SHPO likes to know what training we've done as a commission.
Yeah.
So that's something. that-
Right, we're supposed to give SHPO a report every other year, I believe it is. And they
Yeah.
always want to know
Yeah.
about your training.
Yeah, so we might make a note of the people who participated in that.
Yeah. I knew you did. I didn't know.
Yeah, I
Michelle
saw
or
Michelle
Joan
out
did.
there and Joan.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So just make a note of that for whenever that report's due again, that we participated.
When she tried to take roll, I couldn't get my clicker to click. So I never could say here. So anyway, I really was there.
Yeah, it was good training. Anything else? Is there any public, oh, Joan.
I just wanted to follow up with that BAC cross issue. That was in the minutes we were gonna, Mr. Reese was going to look at. The cross on the BAC.
Unfortunately, I don't have a report for you on that today.
I know you don't want to report on it.
And Joan, Joan, there were two crosses, the main cross and there was one in the back.
There's one missing and there's one.
Weren't we gonna have Spike come in?
I wasn't here at the meeting, so you were in charge.
No, that wasn't my meeting. I just feel like they just keep avoiding the whole question.
When the minutes from that meeting came forward, I said, okay, Spike, what are you doing? Look at the minutes and see, they asked you to report back, basically, that's what you asked. And I said, so I've been trying to get this answer on the cross so they can figure out whether they want to make an application again to bring that issue up. If the answer is, really, we can't say you have to have it, then they want to take it down, they should make another application. And at that point, they should address the issues that you have with the color on the various places. Whether or not you can do anything about it is another issue. But I didn't say, Spike, you need to come back yet. I think he's kind of waiting for me to say that, but I've kind of been waiting for the answer on the cross to do that.
Well, at the same token, they brought Eric Bevins in here, and when Gina was still the executive director and Mikey was here, and they talked about redoing the louvers on the steeple and everything, and redoing the cross on the back and replicating the chimneys that they tore down. And yeah, they've been skirting the issue. But how do we force them into doing that? I think that's our age-old dilemma. I mean, they want to take the cross down, but for crying out loud, they haven't even painted the steeple up to the cross. You know, they painted as high as they could with an artist, but they haven't taken care of that. They haven't taken care of the louvers. I think the cross is you know, if they want it down, they need to reapply. But I thought I thought we already squelched that, but they need to come back and say, here's our plan. And you know, Spike kind of got blindsided, sort of. Mikey should have been here with him, but you know, how long's it been? 6, 8 months now, or longer?
It's been 2 years.
I meant since the last meeting when Spike was here, the new executive.
So does the commission want to bring BAC back to us to,
Well, I'll get back to him and say, look, you got to tell him what you're going to do with the louvers. You can tell him what you're going to do with the paint. And then, and we're still waiting on the cross issue, but if, you know, you can make that application again if you want to. But you need to come and tell them what you're going to do to fix the things that they've asked you about. So you need a plan on that. So, yeah, an update. And, you know, I mean, they've been really busy, I will say that. They've got put on a lot of programs on this year. So, and that is, of course, what Spike's primary issue focus is. And the building and grounds get sort of left behind.
And as Don would say, we're not concerned about that.
Yeah, not our problem. Not our problem. Yeah, I get it.
You know, we talk about money and we talk about time and we're all busy.
Yeah.
And they just keep putting it off. They keep putting it off. And you know, I just think it's horrible what they've done and not done. So,
yeah,
I'll just leave it at
and
that.
2 years ago when we met, we had issues with the louvers and closing that steeple up, and we told them it needed to be addressed. And it hasn't. And I mean, the color is one thing.
But as Joan said, they've been busy.
They have been doing a lot for us. No.
Well, and they did get the brick restoration and everything done on the building, and they applied for that grant, but that's not the point. I mean, you're exactly right. They painted it like they did without getting anything. They knew I was on the commission. They talked to me 6 months before about that. You know, it's like, woohoo, we got some money, and they did something. But there's other things. When's the steeple going to get painted? Because that's a maintenance
We're
issue.
getting into a little bit of discussion here. And I think the best thing to do is, let's just, well, Heather, can you just get in touch with them and say we'd like to agendize them for an update or to update on
I can do that.
issues? I think that's safer than talking now and then. Okay, any other future agenda items? Is there any public comment? Denny?
Thank you, Commission. Denny French. Right now, your discussion was a little bit beyond me, but I think I was actually at the meeting where those brick renovation and the tower and the steeple and the you just said it. But the main thing is that it sounded like it was going to roll fairly quickly. They had things in line, so I'm sorry that it's gotten to where it is. You're talking the Brewer Arts Church. Okay, thank you. We're on the same page. I wasn't thinking I was totally lost. My thing is, I'm concerned about, I believe it's Empire. I'm sorry, my brain is not serving me as well. I sort of rolled back to that meeting I was at. But Empire State Cemetery, it's out by the waste management. And I felt, and I never got it really clarified as I felt when I talked to Jennifer Budge, that the area of the actual cemetery had been broached by the developer to allow a certain amount of hillside slant area onto the property that was below. And I hadn't had that resolved yet, but some things just aren't the battles that I can step up to, and I'm having to step down from many of the things that I'd like to be involved with because of issues that I'm having. But as far as my understanding is that it is not the city's, and it is not being, it had not, to my understanding, yet been, when a person says it's mine, no one has gone out and claimed it. And I don't think it's going to do much good to leave it at its own preservation. The weather out there has gotten even more inclined. The hillside slope deprivation from the developer is a contributing factor, I think, to this severe consideration of losing some of those graves. And not just their markers, but some of the graves, or the sites, and maybe even the caskets. My thought originally was, oh my gosh, you get a good soak up top and things want to pop out walls. And that slope that was naturally there isn't naturally there anymore. It's gone. It's now like that. And so I can't change that, and I haven't gotten a satisfactory involved response yet from the city. And I would want you all to think that's part of your preservation area, even if it's not a district. And somehow cuddle it in or find a way to find a home, somebody that will accept or adopt it, or thank you.
Danny, our purview is the historic district, National Register properties that are listed within Carson City and Carson City's historic district. But I could certainly reach out to, well, I can work with Heather. It'd be interesting to see who owns that. I know it's not Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec has the one up on Sea Hill.
They actually didn't
It's under
accept that.
Jennifer's purview.
Is it under Jennifer's?
Yeah, and there was a lot of talk when Stan was, even before he was on the board, because Parks and Rec said, well, we don't have the money to go out there, and we don't want, our employees don't want to work with prisoners and stuff like that, so there hasn't been any maintenance, and that was part of when the Board of Supervisors gave Parks and Rec that skid steer, from what I understand. But it's been surveyed and everything else out there, but I don't know if it's anything we can do, but it is under the purview of Parks and Rec.
I'll check and see what the status is in terms of National Register, or even if it's been recorded and it's eligible, I think we could probably make the case to Parks and Rec that we have a concern with that.
PK O'Neill Assembly was at a meeting for the emergency response, local emergency response, and he said there's money, but it's probably earmarked for other types of things. But if you had the will and the way and could get your requests in quickly for your projects as well, you might want to check with him. But very interesting, approachable guy. So, but thank you very much. It's very nice to hear people are still involved with things that are about my age and maybe a little older. Thank you very much.
Any other public comment? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
Again.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.